The world was watching the pitch. 100,000 voices screamed for glory. But in the royal box, a different kind of victory was unfolding. Not on the grass. Not in the net. But in the reflection of two pairs of eyes. In a stadium filled with chaos, there was a whisper of perfection. A detail so subtle, so deliberate, that it nearly slipped past the cameras. A single, microscopic movement. A brush. A tap. And suddenly, their eyes weren't just looking at the match. They were stealing the show. Tonight, we reveal the quiet genius behind that look. Not the roar of the crowd, but the flick of a wand. It was July 19, 2026. MetLife Stadium, New York. The stage for the FIFA World Cup final. Spain had just clinched their second title. The nation erupted. But for the royal family, it wasn't just a match. It was a moment of national unity. A moment to be seen. A moment to represent. While King Felipe cheered and Queen Letizia beamed with pride, the two youngest royals did something remarkable. They stepped into the spotlight with a look that screamed summer elegance but whispered a secret. On the surface, it was simple. Subtle red accents. Sun-kissed cheeks. Waves that looked like they were touched by the ocean breeze. But the beauty world, the stylists, the makeup artists watching from afar, they saw something deeper. They saw a trick. A cheat code. A masterclass in optical illusion hidden behind a veil of natural grace. Let's rewind. Before the cameras flashed, before the final whistle, Leonor and Sophia sat in the hands of their stylists. The brief was clear, timeless, fresh, and undeniably Spanish. They leaned into the monochromatic trend, the summer's hottest aesthetic. Warm terracotta. Toasted brown. The colors of the Spanish earth. They swept this pigment across their eyelids, their cheekbones, their foreheads. A consistent hue that whispered warmth, not shout. They brushed their brows upwards. A subtle lift. A silent facelift. But that was just the opening act. Because the real magic? The true revelation? It happened exactly here. Forget the upper lashes. That's rookie territory. The royals know something that most of us miss. When you want to make your eyes look bigger, you don't go up. You go down. This is the tap technique. You don't sweep the wand horizontally. That creates spider legs and unnatural drag. Instead, you hold the brush like a precision tool. You tap. 1, 2, 3. Just the tip. Just the pigment. Just enough to define. And here is the science behind the sorcery. By defining the lower lashes, you close the gap between the lash line and the waterline. You create a frame. A frame that opens the iris, draws the light inward, and gives the illusion of a wider, more awakened gaze. It doesn't lengthen. It doesn't volumize. It simply expands. And then, the climax. The final whistle. The explosion of joy. The stadium shakes. Grown men weep. The world is watching Spain rise. But amidst this overwhelming wave of emotion, there is a breathtaking stillness in the royal box. In that moment, Leonor isn't just a princess. She is a symbol. A future queen. The weight of a nation rests on her shoulders. And yet, she looks unburdened. The sisters completed the look with nude, hydrated lips. No heavy pencil. No overpowering gloss. Just a fresh, breathable finish. Because when you're living in the heat of a New York summer, elegance isn't about excess. It's about restraint. But it's the contrast that breaks your heart. The contrast between the madness of the pitch and the serenity of their faces. The players are crying, sweating, screaming. And the royals? They are silent. Smiling. Perfect. That glance. That shared moment. It wasn't just about soccer. It wasn't just about Spain. It was about the quiet power of knowing who you are. It was the confidence of a woman who doesn't need heavy makeup to command a room. Who knows that the smallest detail, a tap of the wand, a stroke of terracotta, speaks louder than any crown. And so, the world moved on. The headlines screamed about the win. About the goals. About the glory. But for those who knew where to look, the real victory was in the details. In a world that tells us to be louder, to wear more, to do more, Leonor and Sophia whispered the opposite. They showed us that true allure isn't about covering up. It's about revealing. It's about highlighting the windows to the soul with the gentlest of touches. So, the next time you stand in front of a mirror, remember this story. Remember the roar of the stadium and the silence of the royal box. Because sometimes, the most powerful trick in the book isn't a contour or a cut crease. It's just a tap, a breath, and a willingness to let the light in.